Hey guys, it's Liz Kelly, here to tell you that we have a brand new podcast called Halloween Unmasked, premiering Monday, October 1st. Here's a sneak peek.
There's trouble in the suburbs.
A teenage girl named Laurie Strode crosses a quiet street toward an ordinary house to find her friends. But Laurie doesn't know that her friends are dead, and she doesn't know that she's walking right toward the masked killer, Michael Myers. The movie is Halloween.
And Halloween it was a breath of fresh, putrid air.
He's a pure, unknowable evil.
I'm film critic Amy Nicholson, and this is Halloween Unmasked, a podcast series from The Ringer celebrating the remarkable and terrifying rise of America's most revolutionary horror film. Subscribe on Apple Podcasts or wherever you get your podcasts to Halloween Unmasked, and watch your back.
I think the scariest part was that he doesn't die at the end. So when you're 10, it's like, that guy's still out there. we gotta get him.
Welcome to the Ringer NFL Show on the Ringer Podcast Network. I'm Robert Mays, joined as always by Kevin Clark. Kevin, how you doing, buddy?
I'm doing great. You're on assignment. I'm in Los Angeles.
Yeah, I'm on assignment. I'm currently in Jacksonville, Florida. We are recording this a little bit early because we're a little bit busy on Thursday, especially me, doing some reporting. So it's currently Wednesday evening. I am very sad about the Cubs. I'm very excited to do the show, and that's kind of where we sit.
I definitely understand the MLB playoff structure, and I'm not constantly confused and consulting Wikipedia about it.
Yeah, I don't want to get into it.
Just number of different play-in games.
Yeah, the Cubs played 2 in 2 days, and
they
I'm
lost both of
emotionally
them.
exhausted. I'm not super into watching a 162-game baseball season and then apparently making the playoffs as with the tied for the best record in the NL and then playing one game and no longer being in the playoffs.
That's the question. Ryan O'Hanlon, my editor here at The Ringer, has a theory that if baseball were played just once a week, it'd be the most popular sport in America. Where are you on that one? Because I feel like the one-game playoffs are pretty good.
The one-game playoffs are pretty good, but I am not in on that whatsoever. Baseball, for all its drama and all the tension in a game like that, is not a visually appealing sport in terms of aesthetics. I like baseball, but
if every sport played once a week, everything would be almost the exact same.
Football would be more popular because football is perfect for television.
That's all that matters. Football is really, really fun on television. That's it.
Yeah, that's why it became the most popular sport in America. It's perfect for
also
TV.
The best sport.
Yeah.
FYI. And meanwhile,
that's why we're here.
Welcome to our football podcast. Where
we're doing a football podcast.
We're talking about the best sport.
We usually start off the Thursday show, the 3 of them we've done, when I say usually, with the headlines of the week. Instead of doing that this week, because it's 4 games in, we're at the quarter mark of the season. Quarter pole doesn't mean a quarter of the way through. Did you know this?
I haven't given much thought to it, but tell me about this.
I said quarter pole in my starting 11 this week, and somebody corrected me on the internet. They're like, the quarter pole in horse racing means you have a quarter mile left. It's not the quarter mark of the race. And I was like, no, I did not know that. But thank you for telling me, because I will not use it anymore. So thank you, internet, for teaching me something new every day outside of people are dickheads.
How have we gone this long? Because I feel like it's a fairly standard sports thing. Like you're doing your power rank. Well, we're at the quarter pole.
Yeah,
I feel like we've really been way off on this.
I guess that's not how it works.
Wow.
But we're at the quarter mark of this NFL season. And as a result of that, we are going to break down some of the MVP race so far. Who do you think is MVP through quarter of the way through the season? Maybe some other awards. We're also going to talk about 3 things through 4 games that we know just in our bones to be true. And I think that we could probably pick out several of those despite how much more season we still have ahead of us. So
definitely.
Let's start with just very simply, who do you think is the MVP of the NFL through 4 games?
Okay, so let's talk about the odds for a second. Mahomes is 4-1. He is the favorite. Goff, 5-1. Breeze, Brady, Rodgers, Gurley, Kamara, 20-1. This is the last one I'll name. Joe Flacco.
Wow. That's amazing. I love that. Why?
I don't
Mitchell
know.
Trubisky and Matt Ryan have the same odds.
33-1. Ezekiel Elliott, 40-1.
And Khalil Mack and Trubisky have the same odds, which I think is fascinating.
Trubisky, yeah, that's exciting. Phil Rivers 25-1. I don't know why that's there, and I'm not exactly buying 25-1 Carson Wentz.
All right. So even though they have the worst odds, would you just say that Mahomes is, or even though he does, would you say that Mahomes is just the pick right now?
Yeah, I'd say some combination of Mahomes and Goff. Remember, my pick was Drew Brees based on narrative because he has not won the award.
6-1.
He's 6-1. He's lingering there. And I think that if Mahomes and Goff have some sort of, struggle in the second half, any of that, I feel like Brees could win a narrative award here. Having said that, Mahomes has 14 touchdowns and 0 interceptions. Like, there's also the chance he just absolutely runs away with this.
The throw he made across his body on Monday night, I seriously was just blown away by it.
What about the left-handed throw?
Well, that was just that's a good presence of mind thing in the moment, but just the physical ability to make that across the field throw is like, holy shit, this guy is good. The golf thing is fun. I mean, we talked about this before the season. I picked Gurley just because I didn't think that Goff would have the type of numbers to win the MVP, even though I felt like the Rams would own the year. I still feel like they're going to, but he certainly has the type of numbers to win the MVP.
Yeah, and remember what I said. I mean, Goff and Gurley, I think, would split votes.
Yeah,
if the Rams are like 15-1 and the number 1 seed in the NFC, and Mahomes is Mahomes for the rest of the year, I think Mahomes gets it, even if Goff just absolutely destroys the rest of the NFC. And also, by the way, these two teams play in Mexico City.
I know.
And I wouldn't
That's really
discount
exciting.
that.
I'm very much looking forward to that.
I feel like there's going to be a week of like, who's getting the MVP that week? And then we judge a lot of it based on that.
I'm so mad I didn't put money on Mahomes before the year. Me and my buddy Ryan, the day before the season started, we were sitting there at a bar in Los Angeles going over the records for every team. We do this every year. We usually do it over email, but he happens to live in LA now. And we're sitting there at the corner of the bar and we're going over MVP odds. And I was like, Mahomes is 33-1. Should we just pool some money and bet on Mahomes to win the MVP? And we were like, no, it's too far-fetched. Like, I know that it could happen and just based on everything we think that offense is going to be, but come on, MVP? He's 4-1. I'm just so mad about this.
There is a 4-week span. Are you aware of this 4-week golf span or the 4-week Rams span from in October, late October into November?
No, I'm definitely not. I don't know what you're talking about, so I'm not aware of it.
4-week span. I don't want the quarterback wins people angry at me. The people who get really mad when you say that it's matchups between two quarterbacks. I don't want them coming after me, but I don't care. Rodgers versus Goff on October 28th.
Clash of the Titans.
Goff versus Breeze the next week. Then the Seahawks, whatever, who cares? The week after that, Chiefs Rams.
Wow.
So
that's fun, man.
I gotta tell you, and this speaks a little bit to the depth of the league as far as quarterbacks goes right now. So they have Rodgers, Breeze, Wilson, obviously, then Mahomes, then Stafford, then Mitchell Trubisky, and then Carson Wentz. They play those quarterbacks in order. And then they have the Arizona Cardinals, which, I mean, Josh Rosen might be right there with them by that point.
I'm going to be in Los Angeles for the Breeze game, which is fun.
It's exciting.
It's in New Orleans, but...
Oh, okay. Are you going to go to a bar or something?
I don't know. Do you want to watch the games together that day?
Sure.
We could.
Sure.
I'll be there.
Okay.
All right. Let's move on to the 3 things we feel like we already know, just based on this season. My number 1 is just Patrick Mahomes is for real. I mean, I feel like we just touched on that. I mean, the Chiefs' offense is just a pleasure to watch, and he is 100% like entrenched as one of the best quarterbacks in the NFL. I feel good about that.
Yeah, I mean, I think we've seen a couple of young quarterbacks sort of rise and fall, and I don't know. First of all, I think a lot of this stuff is Mahomes' talent. That's 85% of it. But then you get into Andy Reid's schemes, the amount of wide open passes he's getting, the windows, Tyreek Hill, Kareem Hunt, those guys, there's weapons, Travis Kelce. So it is slightly systematic, but then there's just a lot of talent that he has. And I think that the supporting cast and the Reid thing is going to keep him from maybe the deep regression some of the other young quarterbacks have had. I think he is the future of the NFL. When we did the podcast with Russillo and Simmons, where we talked about the best quarterback in 3 years, I said Wentz. I still believe that. But the one caveat I said at the time was that if Patrick Mahomes looks like this through November, I will change my answer. And at this point, I would buy him looking like this through November, and I would buy me changing my answer. I'm not going to do it yet because it's only been 4 games, but I'm starting to, I always believed the hype, and I'm starting to think that maybe he's going to exceed the already incredible hype.
Yeah, he really could. I mean, it's unbelievable what's happening right now. And even on games where they're not clicking necessarily, they went on the road and beat Denver. I mean, they were not firing on all cylinders for that entire 4 quarters, but by the end, they just win out. It's like the same thing we discussed with the Saints on Sunday's show. Eventually, just the talent wins out. You can only keep them at bay for so long, and that's how I feel about the Chiefs right now.
I mean, it's just incredible. You know, my first thing is related to this, and it's that offense is a sustainable way to win the NFL right now. I saw a stat the other day. The top 5 scoring offenses in the league, doesn't matter anything else, the top 5 scoring offenses in the league right now are 17-3. That seems important.
Yeah.
I mean, and that's the future. It's going to be basketball-esque. It's the same sort of revolution that happened in basketball. Teams have figured out efficiency. They've figured out offense. They've figured out ways to get these guys open. Now, a couple of I do think there will be some regression, and here's why. I think that some of the schemes, especially the spread stuff, I don't think anyone realized they spent so much time on RPOs. And I talked to coaches about it over the summer. They spent a lot of time just trying to decipher the RPO stuff that I think they lost sight of the bigger picture, which was, you know, some of these just very basic spread concepts that have been popular in college for years have now made it as sort of primary plays in the NFL.
Jet motion.
Yeah, jet motion, those sort of things. Things have been bubbling to the surface for maybe a couple of years in the NFL, but now they're everywhere. And I feel like NFL defenses will at some point adjust, but I do think the shotgun offense, the jet motion stuff, I mean, I do think that for a couple of years at least, offense will have a major, major schematic advantage over the defense.
Yeah, I totally agree. I mean, you just see everything and how many teams are using this stuff well. How many teams are using very similar concepts? You know that one play that teams are running now where they'll line up with a slot receiver to the right and they'll fake a pitch, like the movement of the offensive line and the running back will be such that you think it's a pitch to the right, and in reality, the slot receiver coming back to the left catches it. I've seen like 6 teams do that. I've seen 6 teams do that little flip pass to a guy coming in motion on jet motion. I mean, it's like all these teams are doing very similar things, and as we've seen the homogeneity of the league kind of rise to this point, and the transfer of information is so fast, we just see so many teams stealing from one another. And that's what I tweeted this during the Rams game, but I said, there is no reason for your team to not be creative and fun and forward-thinking anymore because of how easy it is to steal from the smart coaches. Like, if you're not being good, you are just not trying.
So I said this over the summer, and I want to repeat it because there was a story a couple of months ago about how many coaches have called Lincoln Riley and picked his brain about offensive schemes. And I'm one of those people. I called Lincoln Riley and picked his brain, and I wrote a story about it for The Ringer last week. But if I'm an owner, the first thing I'm doing when I read something like that is I call my coach and I say, hey, who from our staff called Lincoln Riley? Yes. And if the answer is no one,
fire everyone.
Fire everybody. Fire the quality control guy. I don't know, fire the athletic trainer who didn't think of calling Lincoln Riley. I mean, if you're not, things move so quickly now. Things move so quickly. And as I wrote last week, I mean, you know, the website Huddle, YouTube, all of these things, quality control guys at every level are looking at these plays and stealing them. And it's not just, so the story is that Press Taylor, the now quarterbacks coach of the Philadelphia Eagles, saw the Philly special online. That's his job, right? Well, the Ravens have a guy, Matt Weiss, that they told me about. He does that. If you don't have a guy...
If you don't have one, what the fuck are you doing?
If you don't have a guy, you need a guy. And if you don't want a guy, you should be fired.
Yes. It makes no sense that you can get an army of dudes making, you know, $42,000 a year to do this shit. Like, it just... I don't understand how these teams that print money and have this unbelievably bloated television deal don't have 10 guys.
You know what I would do?
I would do this for their jobs.
I would just hire one of these Twitter guys who just goes around looking at Oklahoma State plays and pay him $40,000 a year, stick him in an office down the hall, and every couple days I go, hey, what do you got? And well, hey, look at this Montana play.
There's no reason not to. There's literally no reason. And that's why, so my second thing is I feel like we can firmly say that Sean McVay is the best play caller in the NFL. And the reason for that, and the reason why it's so defined to me, is this exact type of thing. Just this willingness to say, all right, that looks cool. How do I do that? You know, them stealing that Kareem Hunt play from week 1 of the Chiefs game last year against New England, them using it against Dallas, just like wholesale being like, we're just going to steal this. I don't care. Because
you know who else stole that play? The New England Patriots.
Yeah,
the Chiefs ran that play against the Patriots, and the Patriots stole it, and then everybody stole it.
I'm writing about McVay for today, I guess. It's this podcast will come out Thursday. The story's coming out on Thursday. So you guys hopefully can go read that. But Andrew Whitworth told me something so interesting at the end of last season. And he was just talking about the exchange of information in the Rams building and how McVay does such a great job of talking to his guys about what they're comfortable with and what they're not. And I asked Whitworth, I was like, when do you guys have these conversations? Is there like a set time? Do you guys have a meeting that's designed for these sort of, gripes and grievances? He goes, it's all the time. He said, I don't think a day goes by that Sean doesn't talk to every single member of the starting offense. That's remarkable. And to say like, well, isn't that how every team does it? No, that is not how every team does it. Every team does not have this idea of, well, tell me what you think about this. And that's what is so remarkable about McVay is that Whitworth told me, he said he's the smartest guy in the room and he knows it, but he's also the most empathetic guy in the room. And striking that balance with the egos at play in the NFL coaching world is virtually impossible. And his ability to kind of teach this stuff and teach it on such a baseline level and such a fundamental level. And then when his guys say, well, I don't know. And it's the littlest things. It's the idea of let's say you're trying to devise a pressure or a protection package, which Goff told me is the thing that McVay did just with a deftness that was unbelievable at the beginning. Just how much he simplified things while also keeping them so complicated. He's like, this guy's just different. And Whitworth told me, he said, so we're putting in these protections and we'll devise it as such that there are moments where I know based on a certain look that I'm going to have a read that makes me make a terrible decision, an unenviable decision. And I'll just tell Sean, this is not good. What this makes me do is not conducive to success, and they'll change it. Or at least he's willing to listen to why they should change it. And again, if you think that is the norm in the NFL, you do not talk to a lot of NFL people.
Yeah, I mean, it's interesting to me because it kind of goes back to what we talked about earlier, which just how quickly information can travel up. And the first person, I've said this before, the first person to ever tell me what was coming was in 2013, I want to say. And it was Mike Shanahan. And who was Mike Shanahan in charge of at that point? Well, Sean McVay is one of them. Kyle Shanahan's the other.
Correct.
And I think that staff now, and by the way, Robert Griffin, when he had his little explosion in 2012, guess what he was doing? He was running Baylor's playbook.
Yes.
And that was a sign of things to come. Taking ideas from anywhere.
Fluidity. It's about malleability. I mean, we've known this forever, but it's just we have to keep hammering it over and over again because people seem to forget this. It's just about a willingness to understand that if you have just this ability and this feeling for taking in information and processing it and not blocking it out for the sake of doing it, it's going to make you a better football team and it's going to make you a better football coach.
Good ideas come from anywhere. All right, my next thing. It's actually, I'm just going to tee you up for it. I may not even talk, even though it's my thing. The Bears can win if Mitch Trubisky isn't good. And if he is good, they can contend.
Don't make me do this, please. It's not very nice of you.
I'm not talking.
It's really fun, dude.
I'm not talking.
It's really fun.
Do you agree with the first part? Do you agree with the first part?
Yeah,
can they
I
win
do.
the NFC North if Mitch Trubisky is a average quarterback?
100% they can.
I agree. I agree.
Every other element of what they're doing right now lends to that possibility and that reality.
So what happens I'm not saying he's putting up the Aaron Rodgers type numbers who's playing against the Bucks. The Bucks, by the way, that was kind of a low grade version of what happened with the Vikings against the Bills, where they just forgot how to play defense momentarily. So there was just a lot of just randomly open people.
The defense is for real. We've discussed this. Mac was my third thing. The fact that, oh my God, Khalil Mack is amazing. So we might as well just discuss it now.
Let's do it.
What he has done for them is just, holy shit. It was it. It was the one element they needed to just unlock this unit that has so much talent on it. It's made Akeem Hicks better. It's made Leonard Floyd better. It's made the secondary better. Those corners are pretty good. They did not have Prince Amukamara last week, and they were fine. Bryce Callahan's been excellent in the slot. It's just an 11 deep defense without any weaknesses now that Mac is there.
Yep. And
you watch what Tim Trevathan was doing on seam routes to O.J. Howard and almost picking passes off. Aaron Lynch has been really good when he's been given a shot. The defense is so excellent, and it's a recipe that is sustainable. It is not smoke and mirrors, and that's the most impressive and the most encouraging part about their success thus far. We see these defenses when it's like, oh man, these guys look pretty good, but it's a blitz here and it's a blitz there, and they're getting pressure in all these manufactured ways. And when defenses figure out how to stop that, how to attack it, it's never going to work over a long period of time. The Bears blitz 11% of the time. It's the lowest rate in football,
and they have the most pressures,
and they have the most sacks.
Yep.
I mean, that's
legitimate. I don't want to overstate this, but that's the type of defense. That's how you win the Super Bowl.
That's exactly right. And again, let's see how good he can be.
That's the type of defense wins the Super Bowl. I'm not saying the Bears win the Super Bowl. I'm just saying that's the profile. And we talked about it on Sunday night. How many defenses have 18 sacks through 4 games? We talked about it Sunday night. I mean, it's an incredible list, including last year's Jaguars.
I am not overstating this. The Bears don't have a below average starter on their defense.
I agree with that.
You can't pick out one.
This is literally a health thing. If everyone stays healthy, they're going to be extremely good all season, and they, from the looks of things, look like they can probably win the division.
Yes. I think they absolutely can contend to win the division. And it's about the right guys getting hurt or the right guys staying healthy, right? So let's, for example, say that Leonard Floyd is out for the season. Mm-hmm. Then Aaron Lynch comes in and you don't lose a ton. Let's, for example, say that one of the defensive linemen that's not Hicks or Khalil Mack gets hurt. Mm-hmm. If Bullard goes down, then Robertson Harris steps in and he's been playing very well. Bilal Nichols, the rookie, is very good. I mean, that's a group that has a ton of depth right now. Let's say Trevathan gets hurt. Then Kwiatkowski comes in. He's a pretty solid player. Even though it's a slight downgrade. They have a lot of depth at the right spots.
I think safety, you're going to need those guys healthy.
They'd be done because both of those guys are so good.
Hey, I have a question.
That'd be a huge thing. But again, that's true for almost every defense. There's so few groups that can afford injuries. Right now, it reminds me of the Jags just in terms of how complete they are across the board.
Hey, Robert.
What's up, buddy?
What if they had an injury at quarterback?
Then that would be bad because even as bad as
Chase Daniel?
Yeah.
If Chase Daniel's
not very good.
Let's talk about this. If Chase Daniel were the Bears quarterback for the next, let's say, just hypothetically, Trubisky gets hurt in game 5. So you have 11 more games. Do they make the playoffs with Chase Daniel?
No.
Okay.
I think the offense is just so bad. I have so much faith in the scheme. I have so much faith in the pass catchers. I believe they're second in the league in drop rate. I think they've dropped like 1.2% of their passes. That group of receivers I said coming into the season had a chance to be one of the best in the league. I absolutely believe that it has been. And Anthony Miller hasn't even played very much considering he's been hurt. Every other element of this team is really well put together. And that's the kind of optimism I had coming into the year, and they've rewarded it. All right, what's your third one?
Wait, hold on. What is going to happen more for the rest of the year? Bears wins or John Gruden saying something incredibly unself-aware about Khalil
John
Mack?
Gruden's saying something incredibly unself-aware because the Bears only have 12 games left. Even if they win them all,
John Gruden just said, did you hear it? He's like, Khalil Mack had another strip sack? Unbelievable.
Did you read that story?
Yeah.
I don't know. I like Mike Silver a lot. I understand why John Gruden is an object of fascination. I just don't like. We're really like I tweeted this. John Gruden's celebrating beating the Browns, and he didn't really beat them.
And also the
refs gave them the game.
Well, he's also just like, well, we haven't solved anything yet, which is what you say like when you're riding high. Okay, listen. Third one very quickly. Yours is Khalil Mack.
Yeah, we already talked about it.
Mine
it's
extremely
ridiculous.
quick. Extremely quickly. And my number 3 thing I know is that the New England Patriots are just going to win the division.
Yes.
We did this
And
whole
we could have said that
dog
in
and
August.
dog and pony show. Bill made me put the Patriots on worst picks of the week. And I don't know about that. Yeah, no, they're going to win the division. Probably make the AFC Championship game.
And they're going to play the Chiefs, and they're going to beat the Chiefs.
Probably.
Yeah. I mean, that's just how it's always going to go.
Before we move on, let's take a quick break. Guys, you've heard me talking about this for weeks, and some of you are still watching football from the sidelines. Whether you are an expert or a rookie, you should be betting at MyBookie. If you're the kind of guy that likes to bet a little and win a lot, MyBookie gives you the chance to create a big parlay. Pick 3 teams to win, and if you hit all 3, you'll turn $100 into $600. Plus, you can bet on all major sports, not just football, like this weekend's MMA. Conor McGregor is stepping into the octagon Saturday for his first UFC fight in 2 years. Will he win straight up, or will Khabib deliver a first-round KO? If you're on the sidelines, now is the time to get in the game. MyBookie will still match your first deposit dollar for dollar, but you gotta join now because they'll be pulling that offer soon. Log on to MyBookie right now and double your money. Use promo code RINGERNFL and they'll match your first deposit 100%. That's promo code RINGERNFL. You play, you win, you get paid. Now back to the show.
All right, let's move on. Let's get to this week's Take Shop. Why don't you kick us off?
Yeah. Hey, Robert, is the AFC North the best division in football?
I think it is.
Wow.
Yeah.
Wow. Because
I
I'm
think
there.
the AFC North can give it a run.
I think what it comes down to, and this is what we talked about when I unveiled this Take Shop to you off air, the pre-Take Shop, if you will.
Pre-Take Shop, yeah.
Is it comes down to how you feel right now about the NFC North teams. And we'll talk about the teams you want to talk about in a second because it's sort of related, but I picked the Vikings to make the Super Bowl. I have no idea what the hell is going on with the Vikings right now. The Packers, I'm ready to believe anything. I mean, the Packers right now are 2-1-1. The Vikings and the Packers tie. That's such a strange situation there. But the Packers dismantled the Bills. Like, that's exactly what we expected.
Did they, though? We'll get to this.
They won by 22 points.
22 points is not a lot against the Bills when Josh Allen plays like he played.
The Vikings got blown the fuck out by them.
That's fair, but the Vikings seem like they're in a little bit of hot water right now.
I totally agree. But listen, so the Bears are 3-1. Their one loss is a very strange loss to the Green Bay Packers, which was just sort of a miracle deal. And I don't really know what to glean from that. It was early in the season. So it comes down to what you believe as far as those teams go. NFC South, kind of intriguing, but the Bucs and the Falcons at this point are not huge threats. The NFC East is the NFC East. Don't care. AFC South, I have no idea what the hell is going on there. I mean, I will say that the Titans and the Jaguars do look really good, but the Texans and the Colts do not. AFC West, And then the AFC East, just another Dolphins win. So the worst team right now I'm trying to look here. Yeah, by point differential, the worst team
is it Pittsburgh?
In the NFL, in the AFC North is the Pittsburgh Steelers.
Yeah, that's crazy. I mean, this is more about how I feel about the Browns. I mean, I put them at 16 in the preseason power rankings. I feel like they could go 8-8. They probably should be on track to be even better than that right now, despite all the late game craziness and just the frustrating head scratching decisions that have been made. That team has a lot of talent on it. And with Baker, I just think that they're going to be a pain in the ass for teams throughout the entire season. The Bengals, I'm impressed with their offense. I feel like their ability to protect Dalton just a little bit more has allowed them to be pretty good. The pass catchers are solid. Boyd's gotten better. And Baltimore is playing better than I thought they would on offense. I mean, that division right now has no easy outs. So I don't mind you saying that at all. Again, the take shops are takes we're not necessarily ready to throw out there, but we're starting to get there. We're workshopping them.
Absolutely.
All right, so here's mine with that same thought
Let's
in mind.
do this.
And I hesitate to even do this because I know it's going to come back to get me. Are the Packers good? Do we think the Packers are good? Talk me out of this, I guess, is what I'll ask you.
Talk you out of the Packers being bad?
Yeah. Aaron Rodgers, is that where it ends?
Yeah, and Kenny Clark is the second best player on defense in football, according to Pro Football Focus right now.
He's been awesome.
I think you're looking at some individual pieces of talent. And I would put, until last week, I would have put the Seahawks in the same category, which is really good players in a number of positions, and it coming down to whether or not the other guys can be average enough.
That's probably true, but there's aren't that many of the good players. I mean, HaHa's been good. Kenny Clark's been really good. David Bakhtiari is just on a level right now. That dude is amazing. Watching him week in and week out, he has just figured it out. I think right now he's the best pass blocking left tackle in football. With Tyron Smith's kind of up and down issues with the new position coach and his lingering health problems and whatever. Bakhtiari is just so fucking good. But their pass catchers leave a lot to be desired. I don't really like the guys they have on the edge. I mean, Clay Matthews taking such a tumble. The secondary is very young. The safeties they have outside of HaHa do not scare me whatsoever. The linebackers are fine. I guess we just play this game all the time with Green Bay where it's like, oh, well, they're not that good, but Rodgers is Rodgers and they'll be fine. And I just think that is so stark this year, considering how just forgettable and replaceable so much of the talent on the roster seems to be.
You know what's strange to me? We're playing flag football right now. If you're not passing for 400 yards a game, Blake Bortles had 388 yards last week. If you're not passing for 400 yards a game, you're just basically being left behind. And the two guys who have not really been able to take advantage of it in maybe the way they should
are Tom Brady and Aaron Rodgers. Yeah, it's weird. Aaron Rodgers completed 55% of his passes against the freaking Bills. They did not blow that team out.
Well, they did with the score.
22 points is not that much against a really, really bad team.
76 rating. Hasn't broken 300. Did he break? I'm looking at the last three games. Did he break 300 yards against the Bears?
I believe he did.
It seems like something you would have done because he torched them. No, he did not.
No, he did not.
286 and Ryan Fitzpatrick is throwing 400 yards a game and is no longer a starter. That's where we're at with his league right now.
To be fair, Rodgers averaged 9.53 yards per attempt against the Bears.
Ryan Fitzpatrick's not a quarterback. But I'm just saying.
I mean, Aaron Rodgers.
Statistically,
Aaron Rodgers averaged 9.53 yards.
But statistically, both Rodgers and Brady, if they were in a vintage year right now, would be throwing for 850 yards and a half.
Do you know what Aaron Rodgers' career quarterback rating is?
It's the highest in history.
103.6.
But as many people have pointed out, like 9 quarterbacks are above that this year, or they were going into last week.
And guess who's not?
Aaron Rodgers.
Who
is at 97.4, which is his worst ever year was 92.
Yeah, before since he became the starter, which is nuts. So let's one more thing I want to complain about here. The Packers are joining the Lions as the teams that are frustrating me a lot with the usage of their running backs.
Okay.
The Lions just refuse to make Kerryon Johnson the guy, even though he's clearly the best running back on the team. And the Packers just refuse to give the ball to Aaron Jones, even though he is so much better than the other two guys they have. I know pass protection and whatever. He's a fine pass protector. I don't know if Jamal Williams is like Marshall Faulk in 2000. Like, I don't understand why we need Jamal Williams snaps because he's so good in pass protection. You have arguably the best pass blocking offensive line in the NFL. I'm not sure the tiny gap in pass protection quality between Jamal Williams and Aaron Jones is precluding you from putting your best running back on the field who's averaging like 7 yards a carry. NFL coaches and their decision-making will always confound me.
So Kerryon Johnson leads the Lions in attempts. You're taking issue with the LeGarrette Blount 35 attempts this year?
Yeah, it's very close.
Do you know what LeGarrette Blount's yards per attempt is?
Like 3.8?
Oh, you wish. 2.7.
Jesus. Okay. Good Lord.
35 attempts for 95 yards. You're doing a nice job.
Kerryon Johnson at 100 yards in one game.
He's doing a nice job. Kerryon Johnson, 5.7 yards per
and it's not.
I feel like you're going to see a little bit more with that. They also have Theo Riddick in the backfield.
But that's the thing, right? So when you have a running back that's clearly the best running back and he's not getting the work you think he should, the reason is almost always because that guy is not that good in pass protection and because you don't want to be predictable. LeGarrette Blount is terrible in pass protection. He is not a passing down back. There is no reason to have him in the game right now over Kerryon Johnson, except for maybe spelling him every couple series so he doesn't get tired. It's the only reason. The fact that their carries are 50-50 right now, there is nothing rooted in logic that would lend that to be true. Nothing.
What did you learn? Because I did not learn it until fairly recently that Luke Wilson was on the Lions.
Oh, I had no idea. Absolutely zero idea.
I feel like we should give an award for the person who's a veteran that is on a team that we found out the latest in the year.
Ooh,
because for me, it's Luke Wilson.
You think it's the Luke Wilson award?
No, I would actually say. So first of all, I did not know Trevor Siemian played for the Vikings until I saw Trevor Siemian in a Vikings practice.
Yep, Kirk Cousins told me. That's the only reason I knew.
I literally saw Trevor Siemian. I'm like, what are you doing here? I didn't say that, but that was my thought. But funny enough, that also happened the year before with Case Keenum, and look where that got us. I actually I laughed when I saw Case Keenum in practice, and then he fucking dunked on me. Then he came on Slow News Day.
For me, it's this happened today. I was in the Jaguars locker room, and I saw James O'Shaughnessy, and I was like, oh, I forgot James O'Shaughnessy.
But he was there last year.
On the Jaguars. He was there last year, but for me, it's like those third tight ends. It's like, what team is Mercedes Lewis on right now?
Yeah.
Do you know?
Mercedes Lewis is he on the Packers?
He is on the Packers. Well done.
Yes.
So, but it's those guys. It's the blocking tight ends. It's like, who is the third Steelers tight end forever? Oh, Matt Spaeth is exactly who I'm thinking of. It's the Matt Spaeth Award for guys you do not know which team they're on.
You know what the other thing about the third tight end is? They're either the best guy on the team or they're just quietly a massive asshole.
Yes, it's one or the other.
It's one or the other. It's because sometimes you assume that because they're the third tight end, they're a great guy, and then they're like, no, that guy's the biggest jackass on the team. It's one or the other. The third tight end has never been an okay guy. He's either like the chairman of the local boys and girls club, or he hasn't spoken to the media and doesn't know his teammates' names.
That's so true. Do you know what? It's always a fun thing when you're in a locker room and you talk to a guy from the first time, you've never talked to him, and you're like, that guy's awesome. That's one of my favorite experiences as an NFL reporter. That happened today. I'm doing a story and I talked to Avery Jones. Avery Jones is the guy, he's been there forever in Jacksonville. He's like the third defensive tackle. I talked to him for 10 minutes and I walked away. I was like, man, that guy's great. And it's always such a fun experience. There are a lot of the opposite of those in NFL locker rooms, but when you get one of those, it's always fun.
Yeah. I mean, and it's the vast majority of players are just decent and they give you what you
100%,
need and all that
100%.
stuff. That's it. But then there's extreme cases one way or the other.
Absolutely. All right. Let's move on to our biggest 3 games of the week. Got some good ones this week. Let's stick on the Jags at first. We almost forgot this one. I'll take the blame for that, which is when we kind of run through the schedule very quickly. Sometimes this happens, but the Chiefs play the Jaguars this week, man. The Chiefs offense against the Jags defense is one hell of a thing to watch.
So this is a extremely complex matchup for me because I sort of see AJ Boye has not given up a touchdown reception in, I think, 755 snaps. Did you see that stat?
No, that's amazing, though.
It was from PFF. I need to make sure that it's right because I wrote it down. It's ludicrous. Regular season stats. But I mean, I don't even know how that's possible. Okay. Jalen Ramsey's Jalen Ramsey. And this defense is exactly what you want to see Mahomes. You want to see Mahomes go against this defense. It's a phenomenon. And I don't know. I mean, we're about to find out if the Mahomes experience is defense proof. This is how you find out.
Marcel Darius said something very funny to me today. He was talking about just the defense in general and how in Buffalo, when they were really good, the defensive line was really good and they kind of controlled everything and they made everything go. He said, here it's just complete. He said, there's nothing that's more enjoyable to me than standing there and looking across the line and just being able to dance and say, you can't do shit.
Right.
It was amazing and it was hilarious and it's so true. I mean, just that group in general is just flawless. They have no weaknesses. And that's the biggest issue. And I'll be so curious to see how the Chiefs go about attacking them. The Jags are 17th in DVOA against tight ends. I would assume that there's going to be a lot of Travis Kelce in this game. Outside of that, they don't really give up much to anybody else. So I don't know what the correct approach is if you're Andy Reid.
Well, here's what we found out. We found out that Patrick Mahomes can throw across his body, unlike anybody else in the league. We found he can throw left-handed. So I think that this is the kind of game where you just see. I know that
if you can make him throw left-handed every play.
So there's an NFL thing. Hope is not a strategy. It's what they say in the league office. And I feel like in this situation, hope is a strategy because you just sort of let Mahomes do his thing and good things will happen. That does not seem like a scientifically prudent thing, but I'm buying into it 100%. Mahomes can make things happen. He's almost like a basketball player. I mean, he really is Bill made the comparison. Many people have made the comparison to Steph Curry. And I just kind of believe he has this sort of basketball mindset. And I know that, remember Derek Carr talking about this a little bit with his fourth quarter comebacks. And there are some players who just really enjoy the improvisation part of it. And obviously Carr has come back down to earth a little bit. That's what happens when you don't have the best offensive line in the NFL anymore. But I just feel like Mahomes, he can make things happen. I know it's a cliche, but he can make things happen. Mahomes.
Fun thing to watch in this one too, just on a more granular level. Mitchell Schwartz is playing out of his mind right now. He shut down Von Miller, just like a shutout on Monday night, and he's just playing so well. He started his 100th straight game. Mitchell Schwartz, Calais Campbell, Sunday, 1 p.m. Eastern. Tune in on your television. I mean, that is one hell of a matchup in a game that has plenty of great individual ones. Jalen Ramsey, Tyreek Hill, whatever those linebackers do against Kelce. I mean, this is just, it does not get any better than that defense against that offense. All right, let's move on. Let's get to our second one. Couple of NFC contenders. I would say before the season, maybe 2 of the 3 most complete rosters in the league, you would have said, kind of floundering right now. The Eagles and the Vikings.
Is this a loser leaves town match?
No, get out of here with that. No.
Okay, so Paul Domovich does a great job. He has a stat. Last year, the Eagles' offense converted an NFL high 33% of their 3rd and 8s or more.
Yep.
Okay, that's incredible. 7 touchdowns for Wentz in those situations on 3rd and 8. That's how you have an efficient offense. Convert those types of things, have incredible play calls. So that's 33%. This year, it's 15.4%. That sort of shows you that they are not in the same place they were last year as far as conversions, as far as efficiency. It's only 4 games, much smaller sample size, but man, last year you could count on the Eagles offense to do anything, and at this point it hasn't really worked out like that.
So I wrote about the Eagles on Monday after watching them play on Sunday against Tennessee, and I wrote that it's not as if there's this disaster happening in Philadelphia. They're not falling apart by any stretch. And their talent, for the most part, is the same as it was. I thought Wentz played fairly well on Sunday. Mm-hmm. But you just see these little cracks in the foundation of what they were last season. And they're small, but they matter. And one of those things is that 3rd down conversion rate and their ability to just continue and sustain drives. So in that game against Tennessee, they were giving up a lot of pressure on the inside. And then Lane Johnson got beat a couple times by Harold Landry. And it's like, this is not the same team. The guys are the same, the uniforms are the same, but they do not look the same. And it's just tiny, incremental fall-offs by each individual guy. Brandon Brooks getting kind of beat up by Jarrell Casey on the inside last week. And Lane Johnson losing to Harold Landry a couple times. The Corey Graham downgrade from Roddy McLeod and the Titans' ability to take advantage of that. When Corey Davis scored that game-winning touchdown, he was working against Avonte Maddox, the 4th-round pick, who's only really playing because Roddy McLeod isn't there. The corners have not been very good this year. So again, a lot of the same guys, a lot of the same schematic stuff, a lot of guys running open. I mean, you could say that losing Frank Reich and John DeFilippo, do they have the same sort of creativity on offense? I believe they do. It's just they don't have the time to get the ball to those guys, and guys were dropping passes. Nelson Aguilar dropped a couple passes. Jordan Matthews is dropping the ball. So you're just seeing a different version of that Eagles team that won the Super Bowl last year, even if so much of it was the same.
Yeah. One thing I want to clarify, when I joked about this being a loser leaves town match, it's it's not necessarily, if the Eagles lose this game, they're 2-3. That's not the end of the world record-wise. But there's a lot of elite units in the NFL right now, a lot. And if you don't have one, I think that's the barrier for entry into being a Super Bowl competitor, Super Bowl contender. And right now, from either of these teams, I'm not seeing a unit that is dominant and is going to get you where you need to be. That's all.
Yeah, I totally agree.
And at some point, they got to show it soon, because I'm not saying, the Vikings defense, I have no idea what the hell happened.
Zimmer said something really interesting. And he said that...
Is it Everson Griffin thing?
Yeah, no, not that. I mean, that part of it is... that's just something that's very strange, and I don't want to get into that. I mean, that's just...
Definitely not.
And so, yeah, we can talk about that at another time. But he said he might be overcoaching them, which seems like coach speak and seems dumb. But when you consider how complicated that defense is and how complex it can be, you can understand that there might be a little bit too much information getting thrown at those guys because they're trying to be so complex. So I just think they still have a lot of the same talent, and I think they're very good on that side of the ball. But I feel like they could probably just get back to basics a little bit and be a much better unit than we've seen so far.
You know, one of the coaching points I wish he had made was that the Vikings should cover Bills players.
Yeah, that's a good idea.
That would have been a good teaching moment for them. Okay, Redskins Saints.
Redskins Saints. I want to chat about this just because I feel like we should probably hit on Breeze breaking the passing record. I mean, he's gonna do it, and we've talked about this a lot in the last couple months. I mean, we picked him to win the MVP coming in, everything else. I don't think we appreciate Drew Brees enough. Like, I legitimately don't think so.
Yeah, I don't. Yes, we don't. He's never won an MVP award. He should this year.
I mean, it's unbelievable what he's doing this year again. He wasn't very good against the Giants, but goddamn, he was good in the first 3 games. What they've been able to do with him, and just, I don't know. He's such a joy to watch. I mean, there has been no more consistent unit in the NFL, maybe outside of the Patriots offense, than the Saints offense over the last 10 years.
Yeah, I totally agree with you. I saw a stat the other day. Scott Katzmar tweeted it out. Let's assume Andrew Luck and Drew Brees throw for an equal amount of yards for the rest of 2018. Luck could throw for 5,000 yards for the next 10 years, and he wouldn't break Brees' career mark. Think about that.
That's insane. I mean, that's absolutely insane.
Just efficiency. And I know some of it. I know some of those years, especially when he broke the record for passing yards one time. I know some of them were sort of weird seasons where they were down a lot and they weren't exactly, contending for a Super Bowl. It doesn't matter. It's really hard to pick up those sort of yards in the NFL. He really did. He really did, especially in that 2011 season. He really did change the game and change the way we looked at maybe pass-first offense.
Yeah, absolutely he did. What they've been able to do year in and year out and different versions of it, that's been the coolest part, is that we've had all these different iterations of who their offense has been. And now you have the Kamara Ingram thing and just their willingness to feed Michael Thomas in a way they've never fed a single receiver just because he's playing so well. I'm very interested that in this game specifically, I'm really interested in looking at how that offensive line plays against a very underrated Washington front. With Deron Payne and Jonathan Allen, they have such a good front. They have a very good pass rush. That's a really fun matchup to watch this week. And I also am curious to see what the workload is like with Ingram coming back. Because we discussed this a little bit on Sunday's show. The boxes Kamara was running into were so stacked because he's now in different scenarios that he was in last season. And I think that was hurting his rushing efficiency. So we'll see if Ingram gets those heavy look rushes and Kamara kind of goes back to the role he filled last season. I think that's just something to watch. I don't know how it's going to work out. It's as much for fantasy as it is for anything, but that's an unknown to me as we go into this game.
Yeah, I totally agree. I mean, I don't know. I'm ready to believe anything from the Redskins. I mean, I just don't like the NFC East that much. Do you?
No, I absolutely do not.
I kind of like
That's why
Alex
I'm not worried
Smith.
About the Eagles.
That's why you don't worry about the Eagles, is because there's just no one who's going to run away and hide in that division. I agree with that. I don't think the Super Bowl contender is coming out of the NFC East this year, as much as I love the Eagles, obviously.
Yeah, I totally agree. I absolutely agree. I think the Eagles will be there, but I just don't think any of those other teams scare me whatsoever.
Yep.
Let's move on. Let's get to this week's version of Maze Geeks Out and Kevin's Sneaky Truth. Mine's actually player specific this week. Watching that Eagles game back again early in the week, I was just so interested in watching that front. And we know Jarrell Casey's a good player. Daquan Jones played well. But a guy that just blew me away at watching that game again, Harold Landry is going to be really good, man. He's going to be really, really good. So if you happen to catch that Titans game this week, they're playing against the Bills, and Jordan Mills is not a very good right tackle. This isn't like a quality of matchup thing. This is a Harold Landry could absolutely destroy this game. And get on the train now, because I think that guy is going to be an absolute stud as we move forward here over the next few years. Mm-hmm. And I think that this week could be his coming out party. 2-3 sacks, him really just taking it to that Buffalo team.
Yeah, so it's funny because we talk a lot at The Ringer about whether or not college football fans should just scout for teams. And I don't buy into that as much as maybe some college football fans do. I mean, that's like a big Deshaun Watson thing, right? Like, hey, college football fans could told you Deshaun Watson's really good. Okay. But Harold Lynch is a good example of a guy who 2-3 years ago, people were talking about him as a future elite player from Boston College. There were a lot of stories about him being the next great defensive lineman. His stock drops for, I'm not even sure why. It was health a little bit? Weren't there some health problems?
Yeah, there were some health concerns. Yeah. And I think his production fell off a little bit in his last year in college.
Sure, right. But his Mike Vrabel's son plays at Boston College. There's a lot of connections between obviously the New England area and the Tennessee Titans at this point. And so the fact that he dropped to the 41st pick, I think surprised a lot of people, especially in college football. And so this is the player we thought he was maybe 2 years ago.
Yeah, I totally agree. He's been so fun. They have so much talent up front there. And I really do think it's going to help them control games. I think that defense is for real. I think they're going to destroy the Bills on Sunday. And I think that Titans team is maybe not a contender in the AFC, but I absolutely think that they're have an inside track shot at making the playoffs.
Absolutely. Yeah, no,
right,
definitely.
what's your sneaky truth this week?
So I want to talk about this. I gave you the Andrew Luck nugget. And on Sunday, there were 5 400-yard passing games. Okay. There have been 12 through the first month of the season. There were 8 total 10 years ago. That's where we're at. Okay. The quarterback passer rating. Aaron Rodgers has the highest in history at 103. Mitch Trubisky's at 101 this year. Kirk Cousins has the same rating through 4 games. Kirk Cousins, by the way, Vikings have not set the world on fire. Kirk Cousins has the same exact mark as Aaron Rodgers' career mark. Ryan Tannehill, Phillip Rivers, Ryan Fitzpatrick, Mahomes, Goff, and Breeze obviously are higher. So there's Aaron Rodgers' career passer rating, the highest in NFL history, would be 8th this season, 9th this season among passers. That's where we're at. And I think we need to start looking at the fact that the NFL record books are about to look very, very stupid. Breeze is going to set the mark this year for passer rating, but I think you ever hear the whole thing about how like someone alive right now or someone who's born this year is just going to like live to be 200 years old?
Yeah.
You ever heard that stuff? I don't even know what the number is, right? Someone who's coming into the league in 2017 or 2018 is going to have all of the records, and it might be like 5 guys.
Yeah, I totally agree. I mean, how many yards is Mahomes going to throw for?
Yeah.
Like in his life.
Yeah.
I mean, it's absolutely unbelievable.
Jared Goff.
Yeah. No, I totally agree.
Ryan Fitzpatrick, who, has 15 years left in him of just doing this again.
Yeah. I mean, it's crazy. And we're just going to see some astronomical numbers. I totally agree with you.
What's going to happen? I've talked about this before, and I've talked to Hall of Fame voters. What are we going to do with the Hall of Fame? It's going to be really interesting. And obviously, I mean, this is the juiced ball era of football. What are we going to do with Matthew Stafford when he owns tons of records and he put up some of the best passing number of his era? And let's assume he doesn't win a Super Bowl. What do we do with Matthew Stafford and his career when we look back on it? I'm really fascinated to see how this develops.
Yeah.
Because one of the answers is just sort of the anti-analytic thing, which is the numbers become so inflated. Okay, even if you look at an era, like it's hard to judge this, so we just go based on how much you won, how many Super Bowls you won, which would be kind of a bad way to look at things, but it might be the way it goes because it's going to be really hard to judge this era of offensive statistics.
Yeah, there's almost no way to do it properly. I mean, because we have just nothing to compare it to. I'm with you here. I totally agree.
All right, that's my sneaky truth. It's going to sneak up on us. It's going to sneak up on us, and one day we're going to be trying to put Matthew Stafford in the Hall of Fame.
All right, very quickly, quick pick for Thursday Night Football. The Colts at the Patriots. All I want to say here is that I think the Colts defense is very underrated.
Me too.
And I don't know if Darius Leonard is going to be playing this week. He's a little banged up. If he is not, that is a concern because they absolutely need him against the schematic kind of elements of what the Patriots are with the running backs and everything else. But I think this group up front is playing extremely well. They're second in the league in sacks with a similarly low blitz percentage to the one that the Bears have.
Mm-hmm.
So I think that Chris Ballard has done a super underrated job of putting this team together over the last year.
Patriots by 10.
Yep, that's all you need to say. Yeah, exactly. For all of the optimism moving forward you may have about the Colts, Patriots by 10. All right, guys, that's all we got. Thank you so much, as always. We sincerely appreciate you listening to the Ringer NFL show on the Ringer Podcast Network. We'll be back on Sunday night.